Hello and welcome to this inaugural online bopp system demonstration. My name's Paul Shrimpling, as you probably recognise, and I've got Andrew sat next to me. You're saying hello, Andrew?
Hello.
And what we're about to do is share with you how Andrew and I and how you and your clients can and should work with the online business one-page plan system in order to help them see the value so that they end up being a bopp customer for you. Now, what we're doing is breaking this into three chunks. Chunk one is how do you use the online system before the meeting? Chunk two is how you use the online system during your meetings with your clients or prospects. And last but not least, how do you use or how does the system work after the meeting to help support, deliver value and demonstrate value around bopp? So what we're going to do is run you through so you can see on screen exactly what happens when Andrew sets up a new client. So we're going to log in. So clicking the login button. I've got a quick reference login, so we're going in on my account. Before Andrew and I get started, it's worth noting that as you see the dashboard here, and actually every time you see any green, so on this page you can see this big header here, these buttons all in green, the business one page plan logo here. When you've got your branded version of the bopp software, this will be your colour, this will be your logo, your colour, your colour, your colour, your colour. So everywhere you see the green as we go through this online system demonstration, that's where your branded colour will be. Every time you see this business one page plan logo, that will be your logo. So here we've got a dashboard. We've got 5 active clients, 3 prospects, 1's archive. But what is it we do, Andrew, before you go in to see a new client?
Okay,
or rather, before you get a client to come in to see you at your offices.
Yeah, we set the new client up on the system. So if you go into Add Client, and then we put in the company name. The contact is the main person that's going to be emailed from the system. So whoever you want to take responsibility, together with telephone number, address. Now we need to put in a new email address because it recognises all the email addresses in the system, and you can only have one email address once in the bopp system. And then you need to establish a password that can be remembered.
So Andrew, this is the password, isn't it, that along with their email address, you share with them so that they can access whenever they want the bopp software, albeit a limited version of it, they can access it. So when I do this, I email a copy of that password with their email address so that they can get onto it whenever they want to. Is that what you do, or do you do something different?
That's right, yes, I do the same. And then this is the business address for your client, together with their postcode. And their accounting year end. Now, in terms of this client manager email, that's the person that's going to be responsible for looking after the bopp for your client in your practice. The final thing you do on the screen is click the status to active and click save. This should then take you through to the payment window. Now, if you've not already put your credit card details in, it'll ask you to put your credit card details and then click continue.
Okay. So
that's happened before the meeting. So,
all right, is that it then, Andrew? As far as
but to a large extent, yes. It's just information gathering.
All right. So if we presumably go into the dashboard, we've now got 6 active clients. One of them is Trigger Horses Limited, and if we click on the client info box, that will take us into essentially an empty bopp.
Yes, that's right.
All right.
Now, for those of you that have never experienced the bopp and don't know how the bopp's laid out, it starts at the bottom with the goals and ends at the top with the key financials. And in the middle of the plan are the success predictors, sales and marketing predictors, and cost and cash predictors. So if we're going to one of the screens, Paul, if we're going to the goals first of all, because we always start at the bottom.
Okay, so Andrew, before we go there, when you have got a prospect in your office and you've gone through all the niceties and so forth and you've got going, presumably you've got this screen up, have you?
Yes. Up in the office, ready to populate certain information in that initial setup meeting.
Brilliant. So, and how do you then make reference, or how do you engage with the customer around going to goals?
So I basically explained to the customer that we start at the bottom of the plan, the goals sit at the bottom of the plan, and that what we're trying to do is establish from a business and a personal point of view why they're in business, what they want to achieve, and that's what that section's all about.
All right, so we'll click on here then, or you'll click on here.
So what you can do is you can add a goal on the right-hand side. You just basically put the goal text in. So, for example, it may be that they want to sell the business for £1 million by the 31st of December 2017. Now, the target date, the 31st of December 2017, has to go in the box there, and the system forces you to put a date in.
So can I put the date direct rather than
if it's not
through?
one that's...
right, so what date are you working to?
3/1/12/2017. Then if you just click on add goal, it'll add that goal in and it'll appear on the left hand side. Now, quite often I'll add a couple of goals. If there's not many business owners present in the meeting, if there's only one or two of them, you can also touch on personal stuff as well. So it may well be that they want to move house to a 4-bed detached by a specific date or something of that ilk. Again, we want a specific date. And we add a goal. And it's as simple as that for the goals. We usually try and restrict it to 5 or 6, but for that initial setup meeting, we usually restrict it to just a couple to give them a flavour of what the system's all about.
And what does the conversation feel like? How does the conversation work with the clients around this? Is it quick and snappy like we've just done, or do you go into, well, why is it you want to do that? Or
quite often for that initial meeting, which is really a marketing meeting to get them on board, it is snappy. Right. Once we do the proper setup meeting, then we get the emotions going and get them really clear on what it is, why they're in business.
Brilliant, brilliant.
The success predictors is the most significant part of the business one-page plan. And when we do the full setup meeting, we invest a lot more time in getting the right measures and talking through what's relevant to the particular businesses. But for the sake of speed and getting some measures on the plan, we just put 1 or 2 on in the initial setup meeting. So you can have a percentage, a number or a pound sign there as a measure. In terms of the period from to, what I tend to do is put the accounting period in. So we've got an accounting period of December 2015, so I'd go 1st of January 2015, and then in the second box I put 31st of December 2015. The next box along is monthly update. Now, yes means that this measure will show up on the information request sheet that's emailed to the clients each month from the system. So if you want the client to input the data on your behalf, or on their behalf, to hold them to account and make sure that they're tracking the numbers and taking ownership of the numbers, you need to click yes. The system automatically has the monthly update ticked as yes, because we consider that's the right habit to adopt. Target direction, you'll get a bit confused with these initially until you've put some of the figures in. An increase basically means you want the target to increase, so if it was sales, for example, you'd want that to increase. A decrease means you want it to decrease, for example, debtor days, you'd want those to decrease, and you'd also, so for this particular example, we want it to increase. Frequency, annual or monthly. Monthly means it's a monthly measure, and annual means it's taken as an annual figure and divided by 12 to show you the monthly figures. And year to date on bopp, this gives you an ability to show the figure as a cumulative. Don't be tempted to click this on every one. You perhaps only want it once or twice on the whole plan. And parameters, I don't think they're for now really. It's if you want to use formulas, which quite often aren't necessary. So we click the add box, it'll appear. So we just scroll down, we can see it there, on time arrival, of right horse for right client.
In your meeting, in this provisional setup meeting for the bopp, Andrew, how many success predictors are you hunting for?
One's fine for that, because we're just trying to populate each of the boxes so the client can get a good feel for what's involved in the process. Success predictors is probably one of the most difficult to populate for some of the businesses anyway. So one's fine for that purpose.
All right. So it's actually sales and marketing, which is slightly easier to populate. Let's go there and put, say, a couple in that section.
The clients are more used to understanding the sales and marketing predictors in the business, even if they're not tracking them properly. Mm. So what you can see there is it's exactly the same layout again as it was in success predictors, and indeed cost and cash predictors and key financials is in the same layout as well. So sales and marketing, what we're looking for is the predictive numbers. So we don't want to put the number of sales that have been won in a period. We want to actually look behind that. So what's the marketing and conversion effort? So it might be the number of referrals requested, or it might be the number of meetings with prospects. Probably put a number in there. So remember, you can have a pound sign, a percentage, or a number. And then we're going to put the accounting period in again. So we've got comparatives there, therefore, across all the different measures on the plan. If you remember, the monthly update is tick yes, so we want to leave that. So the client gets the update information on this. And we want the number of client referrals to increase. We want it monthly, and we don't want it year to date. And we just click on add. It's as simple as that. What we might also want to look at is the average income per customer. And let's say we've got a target of 5,000. Again, what you might want to do is add the pound sign in front of it so that on the plan itself it shows the pound sign. And then we just put the same period in again. And we're just going to demonstrate now that again, the monthly update box is ticked. It's an increase. It's a monthly. And we don't want it year to date. And we can just click add. So you can see you can actually do this in front of the client. It's very easy, very simple, intuitive. So we move up to cost and cash predictors.
Before we do that, Andrew, what sort of conversation is going on here? Is it literally just, let's agree what these measures are, get them in the system and move on? Is that what you're doing?
Very, very short and snappy, because what we're trying to do here is have a meeting that takes an hour and a half maximum, where the client buys into the process and doesn't get bogged down in detail. Get too bogged down in detail and you'll put them off at this stage.
Okay. So we're into now cost and cash predictors.
Now this is becoming more comfortable for accountants in terms of we know about debtor days and we know about overheads and costs. So what you probably want to put in here is the key cost in the business that's presenting a problem. So there might be overspending on advertising that's not giving them the right yield, rather than focusing on what really needs to be spent. So if we say they're spending 20,000 on advertising in the year, we want to reduce that by 10,000.
So what number do we put in
this?
So
put 10,000 in there, that's the overspend. And again, if we put the pound sign in, we can show that it's money, not a number. And we put the full range in. If we just type the date in there, 31, 12, 25, it's sometimes a bit quicker if it's that's right. Monthly update, yes. Now we want the overspend to decrease, and that's an annual figure in this particular set, so it'll divide equally on the plan. We don't want to show it year to date, and we don't want to show parameters, so we add that in. Now, because that's an annual one, we've not shown you an annual one yet. We'll just scroll down, and if we click on the View Edit box, what you can see is that we've got the monthly figures there, which is the £10,000 divided by 12, which is 833. Now, if it's an average spend over the period, then it's fine to leave it as that. It may well be that they spend at certain times of the year, so the system allows you to change the figures accordingly to reflect that. A little bit slow, but you only have to do this once in terms of the initial setup. So that's quite straightforward too. And if we go and view and edit that now, you can see that it's actually made all those changes, and it's reflected the £2,000 spends and the 4,000 in October. for particular exhibition events that this company has.
Cool.
The other one is cash predictors. So debtor days is probably the best one to look at for that. We might want a target of 30 days. Again, we've got to put the accounting year period in. Monthly update. We want that to decrease, of course. And it's a monthly. Yeah, if we add that in. And then we could put another one in there, which is wages as a percentage of turnover. The reason why I'm putting that in this particular example is just to give you an idea that we've got pound signs, we've got the sterling figures, we've got the numbers, and then the percentages that you can put in. Again, we're going to put the January to December. Want a monthly update. We want that to decrease. It's a monthly figure, and we add in. Okay. So we're nearly there. The final step is the key financials. This is very familiar ground. What we're looking at here is the handful of numbers that really matter from a financial point of view. Now the system requires you to put the net profit in, and that's the net profit from the stat account before tax and dividends. So we put 50,000 in, and if we put the pound sign in front of it, it just shows that it's a monetary figure. Again, we put the accounting year end in. We want a monthly update, and we add that in. We'll put a year to date on this one just to give you an example.
And Andrew, if I'm right, it won't run the bopp, will it, unless it's got a net profit figure?
No, it's got to have the net profit figure in it.
Right.
And then,
so what happens if we don't put it in? I'll edit that question out. Okay.
Okay, let's put turnover in. Again, it's a pound sign, £1,000,000. Again, the full accounting period, 1st of Jan to 31st of December. Monthly update, want it to increase. It's an annual figure. And we don't really need the year to date, and we'll add that in. So we've built a bopp. So if you'd like to view bopp, we can talk you through it. So what you need to do there is put in the accounting period. And there we have it. If we scroll down to the bottom, where we started, you can see the goals. Sell the business for £1,000,000 by December 2017 and move house to a 4-bed house in the country by December 2015. The success predictor we selected was for the horses to arrive on time for each client, and we wanted that to be 90%. So the average income per customer, we want that to increase. The actual is showing a 0 because we've not got any actual figures in, so it's looking like it's 100% down against the target, and it's showing a red because that's showing it's a negative, that we're below the target that we wanted to set. Same with the number of client referrals, that's showing a negative. Now further up the plan in the cost and cash predictors, because we've no figures in there, it's showing it's positive because the system thinks at the moment that we've blown the figures out of the water across both the wages as a percentage of turnover, debtor days, and overspend and advertising. Once we get the actual figures in, it'll either be a red or a green depending on the performance against the target. We'll also show them the action boxes where we can add an action in, and
so let's say you're having a conversation about debtor days, and let's say instead of it being 30 it says 60. what's the conversation and what's going in the add action box?
Yeah, so if debtor days are 60, then we need to agree what the next stage is, if you like, in terms of reducing the debtor days closer to where we want it to be. So what's the action? So Mary looks after the debtors in this particular business, so we're going to organise a meeting with Mary, and we're going to look at the top 10 debtors, and we're going to put together a plan of action to get those collected in. But then we're going to put a plan of action for the future in terms of how they can pay us better going forward, so that it's not just a one-off exercise that repeats itself. Now, where it says the owner, this is the person who's going to take responsibility for this action, so we'll put the owner's name in there. We give them a target, so it's Mary. We give them a target date, and we put Mary's... that date's agreed with the client in the meeting, and we put Mary's email address. And save. Now we can go and look at that. If we click on the back, we can go and look at that action.
On the back box, right?
Just to the far right there, after the key financials and view BOP, there's an actions tab. If you click on that, there's the first action. So we're going to have a meeting with Mary. We're going to agree the top 10 debtors and what plan of action, and then the way forward.
And do you do this in the meeting then, Andrew? Once you've done the actions off that BOP document, you then go, let's just review the actions.
Yes, we always add the actions in the meeting and review the actions in the meeting. But don't forget, this is the initial setup meeting at this stage.
Right.
You can also add actions in via this part of the software as well. So we could add an action in to look at increasing the number of referrals, because at the moment we've only got 78% and wanted it to get it to 90%. Now Ben's going to be responsible for that. Ben's email's already in there when you go in via this particular section of the plan. Ben's email's already in there. Make them responsible, and we'll choose the status as in progress. Now, I'll just talk you through the status there. We've got in progress when you set a task. Complete is for the business owner to tick. The business owners will also have access to the business one-page plan. They'll have their own login, but they won't have certain functionality that you as accountants have. So they won't be able to delete an action, because you don't want them to be able to remove actions that you've agreed to take in the meeting. So you're holding them to account with that. Now when you come to revisit the actions, you can click, instead of in progress or completed, you can click on reviewed. So if we click on reviewed, and save. Now what that does is it parks it in a separate section of the software. It's still there, but when you come to do a PDF export, it's disappeared. So if we press on PDF export, let's just have a quick look at what we've got now as the actions that need to be taken. So we can see that the reviewed one's gone. So this can be PDF to the client, and I recommend you do that at the end of each meeting. Can also be printed.
And as mentioned at the beginning, you see things are green because green and the Business One Page Plan logo with the fully branded version. This will be your colour, and this will be your logo, and this will be your address.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. If we walk back, that's reviewed. Let's just change that to in progress. Save. There's both of them. Cool. And do you run through? Do you pull this PDF up in your meetings or not? Is that just something that you'll do and then send off to them after the meeting?
I run through the actions in the meeting on screen. And I send the PDF after the meeting to
as part of your follow-up.
As part of the accountability.
Right. Do you send them the picture of the BOP as well, even though there's no actuals in there? It's just targets.
Well, quite often in the quarterly meetings, I'll print them a copy of the BOP that they can take away with them.
But in this provisional setup meeting,
in the provisional setup meeting, I always send them a copy of the BOP because they've not yet committed or not whether they want to do
right.
the BOP
So
service.
so you're sending.
So they've got something tangible to take away.
Brilliant. So you're sending post meeting a copy of the BOP. So you view this, put in, and it doesn't matter what dates we put in at this stage, does it? As long as it reflects the year that we've put into
That's
the
correct.
BOP.
Yes.
Yeah. So that could be a year, or it could be, in this case, 3 months, because we want to have a meeting for that quarterly one. Have a look at it, and we can press the create PDF button again, which throws the PDF out, and then that one-page plan you
just email it to the client.
Right. So you save it off and send in the client.
So they've got a high level of perceived value from that initial meeting because you've built them an outline plan and you've set them some actions, and they've got a really good idea of how the system works. And they've got their emotions going a little bit in terms with thinking about the goals, even though it's a short and snappy conversation.
Yes.
So next stage from that would be to set up the meeting for the full setup of the BOP.
So how do you wrap this up? What I'm keen, and I'm sure everyone listening to this is keen to know, is how, we've now completed the BOP, a provisional BOP with a few measures in and so forth and targets. How are you now wrapping the meeting up? And in what way do you use the software?
Well, to a large extent,
to use the system to do that.
To a large extent, because they've had a good idea of what the BOP's about, we've got an example BOP themselves. At that point in time, I think it's a great opportunity to ask them to make a decision as to whether they want to go ahead with the BOP or not. And quite often at that point in time, business owners will say yes. It's the best, probably the best time in terms of the excitement curve for them to commit. Now, if they do commit, what I then do is organise the meeting to get the BOP set up, and in the meantime, get the paperwork over to them for the fixed fee and the direct debit.
Right. You mentioned when we were in the meeting and the workshop that sometimes you've actually got that with you in that meeting.
Yes, I must admit I do tend to have that in a lot of cases with me in that meeting. But it's a play it by ear. Sometimes you don't really know whether they're going to sign up at that point in time. So if you can get it ready for that meeting, then that'd be better.
Right. Cool. So in theory, then you've either arranged and confirmed a meeting or a follow-up call.
Always a meeting. Even if they haven't committed at that time, I always arrange a meeting, whether it be for the initial setup or just a meeting to get a meeting in the diary to have another conversation.
As you've watched and listened to this webinar, you've seen Andrew guide you through how to use the goals, how to use the success predictors, how to use sales and marketing predictors, cost cash predictors and key financials to build the BOP. You've seen how you see the BOP, see the actions and add in the actions, and how you use these two things as part of your follow-up system for the meeting. So in essence, now you can use the Business One Page Plan online system to assist you in prospect meetings, set up a BOP, and if you follow Andrew's pattern, is agree the follow-on meeting and get their agreement to buy the BOP service from you and your firm. The purpose of this webinar was very much to show you the way the online Business One Page Plan system works, which I think Andrew's done a brilliant job of. And if, as we suggested at the beginning, what you do is you can run this webinar time and time again if you choose. And you'll very quickly, very easily master using the software, and hopefully it will turn into hard cash, hard profits and capital value for you and your firm. Andrew, thank you very much. It's been great doing this. I hope you guys who are listening in have enjoyed it too. Any questions, please email us. So it's bye-bye from me, and it's...
Bye-bye from me.
See you, folks. Thank you.